that women belong at home and not in the workplace?
Men think that women belong in the kitchen making sandwiches.
That they can't do something as good as a guy can.
But I guess some people might think that men might think it's stereotypical to look at women like as objects. That's how they're portrayed very often, especially in the media. I'm not saying that all men think like that, but it's a terrible stereotype, I would say, in the media specifically.
That they stay at home and do all the chores.
Probably, inferiority, I guess you could say, just based on the fact that, I'm pretty sure you still get paid. I think the ratio is 70% of the wages, which isn't fair at all. So.
That they are objective and aren't treated as well as they should be, and that they should do as men say.
Well, that they belong in the kitchen, they belong doing laundry, taking care of kids, but I definitely think that stereotypical views have changed since they were in the past. They were a lot worse now that they are today, because women can actually go to school and work in the fields and stuff like that.
Many stereotypical views men have is that women should do the cooking, do the cleaning, laundry, all that kind of stuff. Also, they can't drive, and that they should be more of a housewife and not work and do whatever the man wants them to do.
It would all be one instead of one and two. We could unite and bring our ideas together.
I think there would be less fighting within households and in the workforce.
Well, if there was more equality between men and women, there would be a lot less arguments and fighting. I mean, there's literally physical altercations over inequality. A lot of, if you talk specifically in parts of the world where women have less rights, it's illegal, doing certain things as a woman. For example, driving in Middle Eastern countries. Expressing your opinion in public creates abuse, it creates violence. So.
I just think that everyone should have equal rights, and I think being able to understand where someone's coming from would help increase the peace. Good.
I think that it would allow for more views to come in from opposite sides, so you would get a lot more viewpoints and perspectives on life and the world and problems and kids.
There'd be more equality, that no one would be fighting over positions and stuff.
Because I feel like if there was more equality and women saw that they actually had the respect, that they wouldn't feel disrespected or neglected by men's views. They would actually feel like they have a voice in today's society.
Well, with any equality, there would be more peace. In the case of gender, I mean, it's basically a difference that either way could be simplified and balanced out. And if everyone was equal, there wouldn't be as much conflict as there is today.
Women wouldn't have to deal with being put down and beat and stuff like that by men if they both were knowledgeable and willing for equality.
I think you would have to educate the men to let them be educated, because sometimes they get beaten if they try and be educated. So if they were able to get to other countries that allow them to, then they would be able to empower women in their own country.
If they're educated, then they could get a job and be more successful and make money.
I think by being educated, you're more prone to being able to be successful. So by going out and helping other women who might not have the chance to have that kind of education that men do would help them be more successful.
Educating women in other countries would obviously give them more knowledge, and more knowledge creates more of a voice and more defense actually for women. So educating them and letting them know just as much as men do would give them less. There would be less of an opportunity to manipulate women. So I think that's really important. Obviously, more knowledge and more education creates more an advantage and more of an equal stance.
it helped them like learn about the possibilities that they can not just be stay-at-home mothers and have children.
Well, if you look at the men educated in other countries, they seem to be doing very well for themselves while they have control over women. If women got to educate themselves, they would understand this is wrong and these principles shouldn't be in their society.
Well, I mean, you see how like life is in like the United States with women having more rights and more education. They feel a part of the community, whereas in other countries they don't have that education, so they can't succeed in their communities because they don't have a voice in their communities.
Well, as far as developing countries on top of it, educating women would cause them to almost, I feel like, break the glass ceiling kind of deal, because I still feel like that's implemented today. And if they get educated, which some women, like the family views of other cultures, they feel that, you know, they shouldn't go to school, it should be the man's job, and that shouldn't be the case at all. They should be then educated, and with that they could succeed, sometimes even more than men, which would be great.
Other women in different countries especially need to be educated of their own rights and stuff, so they will be able to break out of the bad situation they're in to get jobs and live a better, happier life.
I'm not really that educated on women's rights, I'll be honest with you.
Well, we could definitely go from the beginning, try and look throughout history, see what's been done, and try and build off those.
Well, I think along with educating women, I think just like teaching them basic like life skills, like maybe teaching them softwares that like men might know, or just stuff like that kind of helps.
So, improving women's rights, I personally believe that if you have really good education, you know, a lot of good analytical style education where people are able to express themselves and not just read something and kind of absorb it, where they actually interact and become more confident in education, and they become more confident in themselves to speak and to voice their rights like they do in many Western countries, to give them advantage, and then men eventually look at them as a counterpart and as an equal, and treat them as an equal. And we see that, you know, more often in Western countries.
Oh, giving them more opportunities in the workforce, like giving them a promotion over a man or letting them shadow someone.
I guess we could improve women's rights just by educating everyone in general. Even in the United States, which is pretty equal, like women are still put into bad situations, so we need to educate them. We need to let people know, definitely in other countries, that there's other ways to live. They don't have to be stuck in a bad situation.
We can try and make the workforce more equal.
Implement almost laws of, I guess you could say, equality laws, like almost how there's, it seems to be almost like some college thresholds modern day, like accepting students or whatever, how there's basically, I feel, on some quota. And if that's the case, you know, equality over everything.
Yeah, I guess like exposing them more in politics. I mean, we still haven't had a woman president, so I think having them higher up in politics, that they would have more say in our government and like how our country is run.
Women need to be educated so they can break out of the situation they're in. They know other options, that they don't have to be in bad situations. They can go to different countries if the country's that bad, or they could stand up to men and get their way.
It creates peace because then the women aren't looked at as a commodity in like the poorer countries and stuff.
I think educating women just kind of helps them like have kind of a level playing field with men, and it kind of helps like them understand where men come from and men understand where the women are coming from.
How couldn't it create peace? Okay, let's start there.
If you educate women on how they should be treated and what should go on, and they see it firsthand how it could be, then you could drag them out of how they are, and they would be able to stand up for themselves and try and do a role reversal and become good.
If women are educated, then they can speak freely and they're not going to say stupid things. They'll know what to say.
Well, they're educated and they know their rights, so they know like what their voice is, and they know that they can be involved in politics, and being involved in it, they have a stronger head on their shoulders. And I feel like having a woman's moral background and her like calm like attitude will help with like the men who are quick to like make rash decisions and like react to violence in a more aggressive way than a woman might. So that might bring more peace.
As far as I'm concerned, like I said earlier, you know, educating everybody would cause peace. Some cultures are less educated than we are today, and if that balanced out, you know, it's maybe cliche, but knowledge is power. At the end of the day, you know, if everyone's educated and everyone's equal, would there be conflict? And we don't know that right now, but it would be cool if there